All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about the elephant in the room. We're going to be talking about Starfield. And yes, I know my voice sounds like crap because I'm unfortunately filming this while still sick, but you guys are just going to have to bear with me as we talk about the video game that set the world on fire. So apparently Starfield has been driving people crazy. And the reason why it's been driving people crazy is quite simply, it features a pronoun selection in the beginning of the game when you're making your character. Now, I have my own take on this, obviously, just like everybody else on the freaking internet has their take on it, but I'm going to talk about it from both sides and get you my opinion on both sides. So let's get into the article, guys, from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm. So this article from Bounding Into Comics says Bethesda's Starfield game features transgender character and promotes the woke ideology in the character creator. Let's get some context before I give my own take. It says Bethesda's upcoming Starfield game not only promotes the woke transgender ideology in its character creator, but it also features at least one transgender character in the game that players can interact with. Bethesda's Todd Howard confirmed the game would promote transgender ideology in its character creator back in November 2021. During a Reddit AMA, Howard was asked about whether the game's character's creator, to which he answered really excited about what the team has done with character creation here, including choosing background, skills, etc. You can also pick your pronouns he, she, they, and we've recorded all the relevant dialogue to support whatever choice the player makes. It says, while some might believe this isn't really meaningful or try and claim it's a science fiction game, this is clearly a promotion of transgender ideology. Now, we're going to skip the part where Bounding Into Comics goes off on a religious tirade, and I'm going to give you my own personal take on what's going on. So here's how I see it, ladies and gentlemen. You can go either way, and I see the argument for both sides. I see the argument for one side that says, well, if you let this slide in this game, if you start to let this nonsense slide, it's only a matter of time before it starts to overtake the entire video game, right? So like it may start off as pronouns, but eventually it's going to become something where video games become as woke as a Disney movie. You know what I'm saying? And I get that idea, ladies and gentlemen. I get the idea that once you give an inch, they're going to take a mile. And we've seen this happening time and time again. But I also understand from the other side of the aisle where they're like, well, it's just a optional choice in a RPG, a game where you can essentially pick whatever the hell you want to be, make up whatever the hell you want to be, and pronouns should be the least of your worries. But see, here's the problem. When you have corporations, companies like this, like Bethesda, that are actively trying to push this ideology in your face and they're putting it anywhere they possibly can, it starts to take you out of the game, in my opinion. It starts to become a point where it's not something so small that you could just simply ignore, right? Like a lot of people are very sensitive to certain things like pronouns, and if you put that in a game that's based in space in the future and you're trying to go on your space exploration, but unfortunately you're being shot down by some they-them ship, it's only a matter of time before it starts to slowly take you out and make you realize like, oh, I'm actually not in a game, I'm just playing a game that's made from people who are trying to push their current modern day left-wing political ideology in a game that has nothing to do with that. So then you're going to have the argument of people who are saying, well, pronouns are there whether you like it or not. Everybody has pronouns, and my argument to that is that's not true at all. The pronouns of which you are trying to reference are pronouns that people are trying to make and claim for themselves. Pronouns are used to describe people. They are not there for you to claim them as some sort of title. Nobody's supposed to go by she, they. That doesn't make any sense. You are supposed to use pronouns like he, him, she, they to describe someone, but you're not supposed to use them as some sort of a title. It doesn't make any sense when you do that. Nobody goes around and says, yeah, I'm she, they. That just doesn't happen. And the ones that do, they all get mocked and made fun of. So again, guys, I get both sides of the argument. So what's my opinion on this? Well, ultimately, I'm in the camp of I really don't give a shit, right? So like I care enough to the point where it's like, okay, I think this is stupid. And I feel like even though the rest of the game might be good, I just recently purchased, it's downloading at the time of this video being recorded. So I will find out if the actual game is good. But overall, I don't give a shit about this nonsense. I'm going to completely ignore it to the best of my ability. But if the game is overwhelmingly pushing it in your face, then that's a different story. If it's just something where you pick your pronouns at the beginning of the character creator and everything else in the game is non-woke, then I really don't care. I see it the same way that I saw Hogwarts Legacy. So Hogwarts Legacy was a game that was supposed to be touted as some anti-woke thing, right? That's what people co-opted it as. But the funny thing is, Hogwarts Legacy had a bunch of woke tendencies that were thrown in there that all these idiots would would have loved to see had they given the game a chance, but they were too busy being mad at J.K. Rowling. It was a game that had literally open transgender characters in them. It was a game where you could literally pick a female voice for a male character or vice versa. It was a game you could do literally anything you wanted to do, any woke nonsense you wanted to do, you were able to do it, and yet that game was absolutely fantastic. Everybody who is currently complaining about pronouns in Starfield was also saying that Hogwarts Legacy was the greatest game of all time because of how anti-woke it was and how true to the source material it was. So for me, I care more about the gameplay and whether or not the game is good. You want to throw some stupid pronouns in there, you look like an idiot. I'm going to make fun of anybody who uses they them pronouns. That's just what it is. But you still have the right to do so. I don't really care. But like I said before, it becomes a fine line where if you're given an inch and you decide to take 5 miles by making it throughout the entire game, then that is a major problem. But ultimately, at the end of the day, companies like Bethesda know absolutely damn well what they're doing. They know absolutely what they're doing. They do these things because not only does it allow them to virtue signal, it makes them feel like they are higher on the moral superiority scale compared to everybody else, and it gets them their ESG money and whatnot. But I will say, Bethesda, you really should focus on making your games actually polished and clean instead of just focusing on pronouns and leaving your game buggy as hell. The best way to defeat people who are against this stuff is by making a fantastic game that nobody can say anything about other than your stupid woke ideology pronouns. That's it. If you could focus on making a fantastic game that wasn't riddled with bugs, then you wouldn't have an issue. But when people play this game and they're literally thrown in their face with pronouns before they even get into the game, and then when they get into the game, you have nothing but fucking bugs, which is very typical of a Bethesda game, then yeah, people are going to be more likely to complain about the little things. So the article says, not only does the game try to push transgender ideology by allowing players to select different pronouns than the sex of their characters, but it also features transgender characters in the game. YouTuber Az at Healed vs Babyface discovered one such character while live streaming the game as part of its early access release. Roughly 4.5 hours after booting up the game, he comes across a female character named Hadrian that tasks him with taking down a terramorph and restoring power to an outpost. During his second live stream of the early access, he eventually returns to the planet Hadrian is located on. Hadrian provides some information about the terramorphs and the connection to the UC before sending him on another mission. After completing it and returning to the character, Hadrian tells him, my relationship with the UC, it's more complicated than it might seem at first glance. The UC is actually the only reason I'm here in the first place. I am a clone of a man named Francois Soundin, one-time fleet admiral of the UC during the Colony War, former head of the UC Navy. They called him Vivictus, woe to the defeated, in Old Earth Latin, a title he earned. And I mean, listen, this face right here with Az speaks volumes, okay? Now, I understand he's a YouTuber, so he's probably playing it up for the camera a little bit, but I can sense and see the frustration is absolutely genuine. And you know what? Like I said, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you on. Every side has a valid argument in this entire conversation regarding Starfield. I do think that people are blowing it out of proportion because a lot of the people that are currently attacking Starfield were praising Hogwarts Legacy, so I consider that to be a little bit hypocritical. But in the same token, you are being fed this nonstop. Like everywhere you go, everywhere you look, it doesn't matter. You look to your left, you look to your right, you're gonna see some idiot promoting pronouns either on a pin or on a Twitter post and pretending to be the massive amount of the population, when in fact that this is 0.1% of the population that cares about this nonsense. But for some reason, the 99% has to be inundated with it 24/7, being beaten in the head with it as if it's some like Chinese torture. It's ridiculous. Hadrian continues, the program I was part of, it was a UC's attempt to create a new generation of military minds from one of their most respected tacticians, secure the leadership of the UC military for generations to come. And that's it. Ultimately, guys, I mean, there's really not much to say other than what I've already said regarding Starfield. I think people are taking this a bit too far, but I also think that at the end of the day, when you're inundated with this crap and you have to see it everywhere in your TV shows, your movies, your comics, everything, it gets to a point where now you're overly sensitive to it and you just don't care to see even a hint of it anymore. You don't even want to have the conversation anymore. And I get why people have gotten to that point. And I think these companies need to just stop this virtue signaling, because that's what it is at the end of the day. You can call it a part of the role-playing game. You can call it RPG gameplay, whatever the case may be. But we all know why these pronouns are there. They are only there because modern day identity politics tells them to be there. If the pronouns were not a thing in current modern day politics, they would not be in the Starfield game. So that right there tells me that it's nonsense and it's just virtue signaling. But ultimately, they're the ones who made the game. If they want to virtue signal, they're going to virtue signal, and there's nothing anybody could do about it other than not buy their game. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.